Hello, my name is Carley Castillo, and today I'm going to talk to you about World War II and the Cold War. So my argument is that World War II was influenced by social issues in the United States because soldiers were overseas fighting to end racism and genocide in other countries, but yet in America, whites and blacks and Mexicans could still not go to the same schools because of segregation. And the Cold War was influenced by social issues that were happening in the United States. So at this time, youths started to rebel against popular government ideas, and women began to become less concerned with these foreign policies and became more concerned with gender equality. So let's begin with African American civil rights. In most places in the South, there was still segregation. Most places were very segregated. So this is a photo of George W. McLaren attending the University of Oklahoma for an advanced degree in education. He was not admitted to the university at first because he was black, but he took this to the courts and he won, so he was admitted, but he was segregated from his classes, as you can tell from the photo. So this has to do with World War II because it shows that there was racism still in everyday life, and that even leaked all the way into the military system. So this quote from our primary documents states that many African Americans were willing to fight in the United States Army or Marines or anything of that sort, and willing to forget about their differences between whites and all that history, but they were denied this option because of segregation, so they were not able to even join the armed forces or even try to join. And this caused a lot of tension between whites and blacks, and this led to riots in places. And one of the most important riots, or most remembered riots, is a riot in Detroit because there was a lot of casualties and there was a lot of property damage. So after that, we have our ethnic Mexican agricultural workers. And this quote from the primary document shows that the United States government didn't think of these workers as people or anything like that. They were just workers and not citizens of any sort. So they were given just temporary access to the United States through the Braceros program, and they were expected just to work over there. They were treated very badly. They were forced to sign contracts that they couldn't even read because they only knew Spanish, and the contracts were in English. They were sprayed with chemicals, and they were given ineffective tools that made their work a lot harder. Another popular thing among ethnic Mexicans was the zoot suits. The zoot suits were worn by a lot of Mexicans and blacks at this time, but they were actually hated by a lot of the middle-class white people. This is because during World War II, a lot of things were rationed, from everything from foods to even fabrics. So most middle-class white men wore suits that required very little fabric, while the zoot suits required a lot of fabric, so they were viewed as unpatriotic. So these zoot suits became a way to recognize some riots that happened in Los Angeles, California. And these riots occurred because Mexican workers and United States white sailors were in the same area looking for the same thing, young women and booze, and they just started to fight, and it led into riots. So that's that. And next we have the Youth Rebellion. This quote right here from the Learn Smart Activities says that the Youth Rebellion was kind of a cause, was a debate about social class and even further about race. So the old ways of society were going away, and teenagers just wanted to be able to be their own person. So in their high schools, these high schools were thought of as melting pots for social classes. They were integrating with lower classes, so these middle classes started to act and dress like these lower classes, and this is why they were thought of as rebellious. And at this time as well, both of these classes and even blacks and teenagers from all over the nations began listening to the same music, such as Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley played a big part in the youth rebellion because he was thought of as rebellious himself. A lot of middle class adults did not like him because of the way he sang. They say that they thought he sang like a black person. They didn't like the way he danced on stage. They thought it was too sexual. And they didn't like his attitude. So this caused parents to believe that their children were rebellious if they listened to this music. And now to gender equality. At this time, women were receiving more rights, but they were still not equal to men. Women could still go to college, they could drive their own cars, they could get a job, but in the workforce they were still paid less than half of what men were earning. So this just shows that women were not treated equally, even though they were supposed to be being treated equally. So in conclusion, World War II influenced racial tensions between whites, blacks, and Mexicans. And the Cold War was influenced by social issues such as the youth rebellion and gender equality. Thank you.